seeing a lot, quite a bit of a jump in people streaming in this country,
Right.
especially in the past, over the pandemic era that has been going on over the past year. I think people have also kind of doubled down on this. I mean, Lobby Zero's birth as a content-based platform was because of the pandemic. So for you as a creator, at this stage of your life, for you to want to make that, when did you really make the shift, like the hard shift into, because I see you doing this quite regularly now. Like, I think you go online quite often. I see you going live at least 4 or 5 times a week, if I'm not wrong, at least. So if that is the case, like, when did that shift really happen? Because it's not easy. It is time consuming. Like, we recently started streaming a little bit and like Chris and I, we were doing this, and after the first stream I was like, yo, I was so exhausted. Because we're trying to create entertainment, right?
You're talking about GTA RP, right?
No, GTA. We didn't do
Apex.
We did Apex. Yeah, we did Apex with Zara.
I mean, we're trying to be casual, but then we also subconsciously know that we're live, so we're trying to be conscious about that. And
it's hard not to have a persona. At that point,
there is an energy shift. So the energy shift is there. The rate at which your energy is consumed kind of shifts. And at the end of the thing, I was tired. So I know that streaming takes effort and it takes time. And for you to make that shift in a market like this, which is a very nascent stage, as we discussed, where ROI is a big question mark. So for you, what made you start streaming, and what was the rationale behind it, at this stage, and for you to want to get into that and actually dedicate time to it? Because if I'm not wrong, this is something that does take a major portion of your time. Like your persona as a streamer is something that you're really doubling down on now, right?
Right. So I started, like I said, when I was doing this radio show bit, where I used to host guest mixes, and I used to promote a lot of homegrown music. That was back in 2012. So I realized that was also a live stream. So I go back in 2011-12 when I was doing this live stream of my radio shows. It was basically an internet radio station, so potato, if you will, in terms of live streams, audios, and otherwise. So that was where I started building the community around my musical activities. And musical activities would take around 2 to 3 days for one show, at least, just to produce that show, and then a week long of pre-production efforts. So I started that back in that phase where I would put it all together in 1 week, started squeezing it, and condensing in a way where I would do it in at least 2 to 3 days. That sort of was my turnaround, and I started noticing that this used to be my turnaround when it comes to one particular instance. And then I realized that this was also translating into time spent of a kind where I would also play, say, 8-hour sets when I would be live playing my DJ sets for a decent crowd, like that. So those were the activities that made live things happen for me. So I use that, and I use that energy. I understood certain aspects of those performances and that production those production nuances that used to go into the radio station and radio show property. And I combined those, and I started doing the live streams around, I think, May 2018. So 3 years ago. Yeah, fairly. April, May 2018, if you will, I started multi-streaming with PUBG at the core, because that was the newest game. I started connecting with a lot of people, started socializing in a way I didn't imagine. And we built a community of about 30, 40 active players in one place, almost every, in one place, and almost every um, say one day, if you will. So every day we would be uh, gathering up about 30, 40 players because a lot of people didn't have the access to a community. Then the community started sprouting up, and then the communities wouldn't have the entertainment that came from the live streams. So what I did was I started live streaming for a lot of people who wanted to play the game but couldn't.
Mm.
And then I would be playing with people who can, just so that we become the entertainment like that. So live stream started, and then I took over um, this idea of live streaming on a regular basis. I took on that uh, idea of doing videos as well at the same time, and I started live streaming full time with the idea of making a career out of it. And then lockdown happened. A lot of things went south for a lot of us, including me. So, I thought live stream is at the core of what I do anywhere. And I've already done radio shows. I've already done live shows. We have the community. Let's just make something out of it, because I think live streaming as a career is underrated, and at the same time mostly misunderstood in India. A lot of people think that just slap on live stream, put on a rig, play the game live. That's that. No, that's not. That's not how it works. That's now how it would, because that's not what live streams are. It needs to create some sort of value in terms of entertainment or otherwise as well. So I mean, and even if anything, it needs to create a community. So creating that community was already happening, and then combining that with the whole audio and the live mechanics that I learned while I was on my way to starting my live streams. I realized that I think it is good time. It is a good time that I take up live streaming as a full time career. Um, it didn't pay well for sure. I would be honest. Uh, and I would not be sugarcoating this thing that in India, especially when it comes to smaller live streamers, it is not easy to start up. Like a startup itself, because when it comes to stepping out and putting on that live stream, telling people, hey, I'm live streaming now. I'm a gamer. I'm a professional gamer, and pay me. They'll ask you simple thing, and everybody has asked me the same thing ever. Why? So even if the content is being put out there, even if a lot of people would be looking forward to this conversation, a lot of people would not be. And I am good. I am pretty understanding of the fact that it would not make a lot of sense to a lot of people. Why are 5, 6 guys talking right now on the screen, or 7 guys talking on the screen right now, and what are they trying to do? But and why would I pay them like that? So people uh, started misunderstanding this concept of earning from the live streams when the lockdown happened, because a lot of people were out of jobs and everybody was turning to live streams as well. So, and those who were building up since 2018, 17, and 2019, in fact, those who were building up, they were putting in a lot of hours to establish their brands and whatnot. They sort of took a hit as well, because the barrier to entry to this sort of career was almost nil. But again, the sustainability, I mean, to reach that sustainable level of earning from this sort of a career was way too high, because people just don't understand what all goes into establishing themselves as a streamer. So that way, I understood that I understood that the fact that I had the background for it, I had the, and by background I mean I like, in Hindi we say ghat ghat ka pani piya, which is basically is you've experienced almost everything in your life.
Everything that
Yeah,
he does.
yeah. So you've experienced so many things that you're ready to do or take up the challenge
Mm.
that a lot of people think they can, but they're not yet there. So I not to boast, but I kind of combined what I learned, and then I shared it with the rest of the people as well. A lot of people. I'm not gonna lie there as well, that a lot of people who wanted to pull this thing down as well came around, and we started griefing like that, and it kind of didn't make sense to me because they were just chilling. And live streaming is a very sensitive business when it comes to at least the initial stages, and it kind of turned a lot of things south for me as well. But
Mm.
then I switched over to this thing as not just a side hustle. I mean, not exactly a side hustle per se, but this is what I want to do, uh, whether or not I'm doing anything else. So
Mm.
if even if I'm not writing, even if I'm writing, doesn't matter. If I'm playing music live or not, doesn't matter. If I'm making something else for somebody else, XYZ client or otherwise, or whatever I'm doing, even if I'm being a janitor, doesn't matter really. I would be live streaming still because this is the way I connect with people, and I want to keep at it. And
Mm.
that's how I invested myself as a live streamer, full time, 4 to 5 times a week now. But I used to do 4 or 5 hours of live streams, at least 2 live streams a day, um, before November 2020, no, December 2020.
I think I think that's an interesting point, which is, and I haven't had a lot of conversation with people who live stream, but what you said about it being at a very basic fundamental level an extension of your communication method, an extension of your communication mode in order
Mhm.
for you to pull it off, because even a little bit of the glimpse that we've had into what the world of streaming is about and the background setup that needs to happen. Obviously, it's much more for people like you who are going all in on it, and for the people who actually want to make it, they really do have to go into it to a degree that is more than the average person. And so, the point that you made that it has to, at some fundamental level, make a connect to your basic method of communication, I feel like. Which, if you can do, then it will come across as an authentic format of entertainment because people sense that the conversation that you're trying to build is at least authentic and it feels good. But also, I guess the other part of it is also before the pandemic, maybe people were a lot less receptive to that concept because now people are so exposed, they're overexposed to communicating with people on screens and through Zoom calls and all that stuff. Whereas back in the day, this was not exactly the standard mode of communication, right? And so if I had somebody in my circle who was streaming before the pandemic, I would have looked at them differently, or I would have probably processed it differently. But
Right.
now, in the pandemic world, if I have someone in my circle who's streaming, I look at it differently because this mode of communication has taken on a whole new characteristic because of
Right.
the pandemic, I feel like.